We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. We have Will in as a guest. Will's been on frequently, and it's always interesting to hear his point of view. He's a smart guy. He knows a lot of stuff. He makes me look good, so that's why he's on all the time. Um, Will, how you doing down there in Georgia?
Uh,
Everything holding
I,
together pretty well?
it's holding together. It's hot as hell. It is August
Yeah.
in Georgia. You've been to Savannah. You know what that is.
I'm going in
It's
a couple of
been
weeks, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what August in Savannah's like.
well. You're near the water. I'm
True.
not near land. it's. Um, I had a my pest guy came in and he came to the door and he goes, "Oh my God, I'm going to die." And, I go, he goes, "It's hot out there." I go, "Dude, it's August in Georgia. Even I know this." So
I want to bring up something to start. We got a lot of stuff to talk about,
yeah.
so we're not going to have any problem filling the time. But there was a story that came out that said that the Trump campaign's computer systems were hacked, and
Mhm.
they're trying to blame Iran for doing it because Iran hates Donald Trump. Remember, they just busted somebody for trying to conspire to assassinate him, and they hate Iran, and Iran wants to keep him out of the White House. We don't know what was taken. We haven't seen anything really released as yet. But what was your first thought when you heard that happen?
I the normal people that do that usually do the hacking are Russian related. The thing about some people keep forgetting about Putin, always remember his job in the KGB was to destabilize governments. That's
Right,
one thing he's always good. That's what his job was.
right,
So when I heard that and they said foreign, I go, who?
yeah,
I really don't know because I don't buy the Iranians because they're tied to the Russians to an extent. Don't buy the Chinese because they love to have him that because they need their whipping boy. Um, I mean, someone sent that information to Politico.
right,
Why would the Iranians do that?
yeah,
I mean, to me, it seems more like what happened before with a domestic, group trying to get back to get to Trump, and also I could see that. I could see a radical group here, hackers. I try to remember what they did before, and pulling those papers to send them to Politico,
right.
because a lot of it is stuff to foment problems within the Republican Party. Some of the documents, including that the majority of his campaign wanted Marco Rubio as VP,
Right, right,
but Trump listened to his kids and upper echelons of Theo and Elon Musk for money to choose JD Vance.
right.
And so, I mean, They said they found those files, so it's if those are going to pop up, it's not going to help him. So how does that help? I don't see how it helps the Russians. I don't see how it helps the Iranians.
Well, let
That's
me
my
fuck with your head here a little bit.
sure.
And I'm just supposing here. I have no basis in fact for doing this other than what we've seen in terms of Trump and Trump campaign's behavior.
Hmm.
First, I'll ask you this. The fact that we hear that the Trump campaign was hacked, who did we hear that from? How did
Trump.
we? Well, Trump and the Trump campaign. Now, if you were Trump, knowing his past history, if he was truly hacked, what would normally be the response to that? No, I wasn't. I wasn't hacked. He would lie about it. He didn't want to
Yeah,
look
our
weak.
security is the greatest security ever.
Right.
Yeah.
So he would have lied about it. But this came directly from the Trump campaign. Let me ask you this. They had an assassination attempt. A lot of questions about that. Was it staged? Was it real? I mean, I have some questions about this hacking thing. Again, just supposing and thinking about how Donald Trump thinks and handles things. If something was going to come out that he couldn't stop, he's going to have some excuse for whatever it is. And now he's going to blame it on the Iranians uh, hacking his stuff and doctoring the documents and stuff. It seems to me like this is um, potentially a cover up for something that is yet to come. I'm just supposing here.
So like a CYA on something that he didn't want to get out. That's in those files.
I don't know that that's true, but based on his behavior in the past and what we know about and what we don't know about the assassination attempt, It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's in a desperation state right now, and desperate times call for desperate measures. And Donald Trump is all about diversion, distraction, and all that shit. I have to consider that based on what I know about Donald Trump regarding this hack thing. It'll be interesting to see what comes out.
That's damn. That put me on a track I didn't think of.
I told you it'd fuck with your head.
Yeah, because Trump never admits to shit. He never
Now,
admits to a damn thing.
you know what the crazy thing here is? For me to say what I just said under normal terms would be absolutely crazy. But because you know Trump and what they've done in the past, you have to go, it's possible.
But it can't help their campaign. I mean, this is not going to help their campaign. Everything they're doing is like, I don't. I know the planning was very bad. They had no plan. First for Harris, then for Walz.
Right.
I heard you talking about Old Soul and talking about they had planned for the Whisper campaign against Shapiro.
Right.
It was deep. I mean, they already had Genocide Josh already printed out at the Detroit. Was it Philadelphia? No, Philadelphia rally where he was introduced, where J.D. Vance is. They did not know it was going to be Walz. They thought it was Shapiro. They had already had like pamphlets printed out against Shapiro that they all had to trash. That's a lot of money wasted. And so they didn't know what it caught them by surprise. I have never seen a campaign. I know Trump was incompetent from day one. He was writing a weird political thing in 2016. What I'm seeing right now on my phone, the kind of the crowds and the spontaneous stuff, I saw in 2016.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived when he showed up in Macon, Georgia. I thought, yeah, well, whatever. He filled the fucking place.
Yeah.
It was weird, and I'm going, but don't you hear him? He filled the place. I seen the Macon Coliseum is good size, and it was like, and that's where you started to see something weird is going on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the free press. And thank you, Loris O'Donnell, by the way, the other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just the free press. It was just something. And I think just on an overall, looking at what I'm watching right now and kind of what happened with Trump, the problem with the Hillary Clinton campaign, and again, a lot of people don't want to say it, but I will say it, and I said it at the time. That was the worst fucking campaign run by a Democrat ever.
Yeah.
All of them thought they did not take it serious enough. And I'm not going to pull away the Comey stuff and all that. You could have fought that.
Yeah.
Clinton did not show up in any swing states in the last 2 weeks of the election. She didn't show up in Michigan. She didn't show up in Pennsylvania. She didn't show, I mean, those 2 states she lost. And that was her campaign's fault. And also, I'm watching Kamala Harris right now. There is, or maybe it's just, this is the perfect storm. There is something that clicks with everyone.
Yeah.
And I know Hillary Clinton was a brilliant woman and blah, blah, blah. I get it. And I know she was right. But the problem, I think, who said this? I'm trying to think. Someone made a comment about joy in a campaign. I'm trying to remember where I saw this.
Well, yeah. Well, it was Walz who said, "Thanks for bringing the joy back," and we've talked about it on the podcast. That's true.
It was the guy from the Bulwark, Tim Miller. He said that their messaging. The problem with the Biden campaign was that it was a dark message. Right. Democracy is going to die. When Kamala Harris took it over, she said, "This is for your freedom.
Right.
This is going to bring you freedom to do what you want to do and not to let anyone tell you what not to do." And it became simpler. It became easy to say. It became easy to relate to. Because we all know what Donald Trump is. We know he's an evil fuck. Yeah. We already seen what he's done. We saw what he tried to do on January 6th. But we already know that. And to an extent, when you keep telling people, if you don't do this is the consequences, it becomes a downer. it
Yeah,
becomes a burden. It becomes hard.
that
And
that is the contrast here.
yeah,
Everything with Kamala and Tim Walz is about hope and joy and excitement, and this gets people who have been in a dark place for a long time excited about it. Everything Donald Trump does is pretty dark and draconian, and the world's going to end and the economy is going to crash. I won't suggest that Kamala came into it with that strategy. But the moment she started taking off and seeing the happiness and the joy, she said, I'm riding that motherfucker to the end
yeah,
because that's the
and
way to go.
I think a lot of the Biden campaign there's a lot of Biden campaign people removed, and a lot of her people came up which are younger. I mean, the Biden campaign did not do what the Harris campaigns do right now. The
No,
constant attacks, the constant reminders, and they're not attacks. They're just statements of fact. Those are
right.
just statements of fact. There's see the thing about it, Tim Walz, and we'll step on that because he before we spoke, we were speculating. Last time we spoke, was speculating.
Right.
I knew of him because I saw some of the stuff he's done.
Right.
The that picture of him running free lunches for the kids and the kids loving him because that was amazing.
Yeah.
What I didn't expect for him, Josh Shapiro would have been okay, but Josh Shapiro is a nice looking boy who speaks in political speak.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw his speech in Philadelphia. That's the rah political speech. He's the good looking boy from the coast. When Tim Walz stepped up and said about about people in counting about your choices, and he said, "Mind your own damn business."
Right. He's a
In
plain
those
speaker.
words, yeah, in those words, he encapsulated everything that we hated about what happened to Roe v. Wade,
Right.
affirmative action, taking away everything from us in just those few words because we could relate to that. And the problem with Democrats for decades is they spoke in a way that people said, "Yeah, okay, you're smarter than me. I get it." And some people get resentful of that.
I think part of the reason why Shapiro didn't get it too is because Shapiro's kind of a rising star.
Hmm.
He's the kind of guy that's going to join your band, but has aspirations of being the lead singer. Tim Walz
That
is happy just being on the side playing the bass.
and the
I
other
think
thing
that's
about Tim
part of it.
Walz, you talked about that with Old Soul. I caught that you wanted him to step back.
Yeah.
I don't worry about Tim Walz doing that because Tim Walz is the one thing a military person that we have not seen. He's an NCO.
Right.
What's the job of the NCO? The job of the NCO is to make the officer look good, make his job easier, handle the little shit for the officer, report to him, tell him what's going on, and make sure the unit functions correctly.
Right.
That's an NCO's job. That's why the Russians are getting their fucking asses kicked in Ukraine because they have no NCOs. They have no person on the ground to push them or to keep them as a unit. That's what you see with. That's what I see with him. I see, yeah, that's my officer. She's my commander in chief, in that sense. And this, ma'am, this is how we're going to handle this. This is my suggestion. I'm going to go out and start it, and then he sets it up for him. He makes her job easier.
Right.
That's what an NCO does, and I see that in him. I hear him, and honestly, he's just a dude.
Yeah.
He's just a dude. And the thing about him is like that's I cannot. I don't know because I remember when he was selected and I caught Morning Joe, and Joe Scarborough went out of his fucking mind. Well, there goes Pennsylvania. We can't win Pennsylvania. What are you going to think about Pennsylvania? And there was another lady on the Bulwark who's still pissed off and had a focus group and found a bunch of people to hate Tim Walz. I don't know where she found them. I mean, I don't know what sewer she found them from. But the point being is, it was not a political decision.
No.
By the way, it was I can work with this dude and we can make this go. That's a different decision. And, because like people, it's Republicans saying, well, why do you do it? You don't need Minnesota. It's not a swing state. That's not the issue
No.
because he can relate to your neighbors.
Right.
Your neighbors know him quite well, I bet.
I
So
would say I would say that this race, this campaign is one not on not on politics, but on marketing. Because
yes.
that's where we are in this country, and they're marketing the fuck out of this, and they're doing a great job with Kamala playing her role, and him playing the the sidekick, if you will, the funny
Mhm.
sidekick. And once they balance that out, it's a perfect combination.
And I'm starting to see the balance because the message is pretty. I don't mind the stump speeches, and I've seen all three rallies, but the reaction to everyone, it's basically like a concert. You
Right?
go to a Bruce Springsteen concert, you know what you're getting, and you don't care how many times he sings the river. I'm good with it. Do it
Yeah.
again. Um, and I think as a lifelong Democrat, I kind of remember Bill Clinton had that same kind of oof
Right.
because the economy. That I remember that. I mean, don't stop at the Fleetwood Mac song and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Obama kinda, again, like I said, I didn't buy into him in '08, but
Obama
that's
was
me.
great. Obama was great, but he was a little stiff. And it was because he was
Yes.
new and he was
Mhm.
inexperienced. That's why he brought Joe Biden in. Not
Yeah.
because he wanted to win Delaware, but
No,
because he needed somebody with
and
experience.
if you think about that, Kamala Harris spent quite a long time with Joe Biden,
Yeah.
and she learns, and then she saw that, and and when she's talking to him and probably talking with Obama, they talked about that. Don't worry about the politics, because the one thing I that pissed me off about the whole thing about, well, we need Shapiro to win Pennsylvania. If you need Shapiro to win Pennsylvania, you're fucked.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it should be we're going to win Pennsylvania. Period. Doesn't care who's running.
Well, the thing
That's
about it
what I'm trying.
is while Shapiro might help you win in Pennsylvania, he might hurt you in other states because he's a young Jewish
Hmm.
man. He's got his stance on Israel.
Hmm.
Plus, he gives the flavor of the establishment or the elite in the
Bingo.
Democratic Party, and Tim Walz does not.
No, he does not. And I think that's why I was kind of Andy Bashir didn't give me that feeling.
Yeah, and he would have
Andy
been
Bashir,
good.
yeah, he's good because he's a Southern boy and he came across as a Southern boy, and he's fought his way to the top of a red state.
Right.
Walsh has fought his way through it in his district, which red at the time.
Hmm.
From yeah, as you said before, and it's truth, that legislature is split. That was a tough win. He still got him to work. He had to get Republicans to agree with him. He
Yeah.
had to work with them. There's no
Yeah.
way he could not have. So that's a smart man hiding behind a guy who will pick up a pig.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a wonderful thing to see, and what it's one of the things that I'm kind of frustrated to an extent for myself and many other Democrats is that older Democrats, people who've been down this road, who
Right.
watched the failures in 16, who watched the failures of Obama because we couldn't elect a full Congress and he had to fight through all that bullshit with McConnell
Right.
because we couldn't get the message right, is that the failure of not fighting. It's just that you lay there and let them do it. And the worry we have, and I hate to say it, and it bugs the fuck out of me. I'm waiting for something bad to happen. That's a bad thing to think, and because it always does.
Well,
But the
here's
thing about go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people feel that way. They're waiting for the next shoe to drop. I look at it differently based on
Mhm.
my experiences and the way I look at things. I look at the track we're on right now, everything falling into place, everything kind of a lot of synchronicity going on. I think we're on a track that we can't fall off of. What's going to happen is going to happen. People always say, well, this presidential race isn't a popularity contest. Well, fuck it ain't. That's how Donald Trump won. And Kamala and Tim Walz are the most popular people in the race right now, over and above the policies.
Right. And the thing too is that I'm I'm leaning on the way of optimistic. I don't buy the pundits because they keep saying, "Well, that's going to change. The momentum's going to change." If this was a 2-year bullshit like we normally do,
Yeah.
probably we got 87 days. So let's talk about the opponent. Okay, so if you're football, baseball, I mean, you probably follow football like
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
There's momentum switches on a field, and the same thing. I coach soccer, I referee soccer. There's momentum shifts that you cannot stop anybody.
Right.
Your same defenses don't work. You try to do that, and what happens at that point? Especially with someone I've seen this too many times on the soccer field. When the other team started shift momentum and they get ahead, or they're just really the other team can't stop them, it turns violent. There's
Right.
going to be hits. There's going to be cheating. There's going to be clips. And what I'm seeing right now from the opponent, you've got a campaign whose campaign managers literally thought they had this thing won after one debate.
Right.
I still don't believe that one debate would have been the end of Joe Biden. I
I don't think
disagree with
so
that.
either.
They convinced their boss, who's a narcissistic asshole, that boss, you got this, don't worry about it. And that's why they chose JD Vance, the worst human being that could be running right now. I don't even know he's human. I wonder if they wind him up every day
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
little clock. And
It would
what
make
is
him
the
fucking a couch a lot more acceptable if
my
he was an
God. Okay,
inanimate object.
I just had bad images right there. Thank you. Like that. But if you look at it, they have nothing. They keep saying, pundits keep saying they're gonna find something to stick. What? I mean, you can't go racist because who's that going to appeal to? That we already got that vote. You can't go against women. You fucked that up. That worked well. And the thing that's I'm seeing is they have no strategy
Right.
because there's nothing there to grip. I mean, they went back into Walt's background. And he owns no stocks.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
politician owns no fucking stocks?
Yeah.
And I heard that. I saw that and go, oh damn,
I
they've
think
got
he's.
nothing there.
I think Walz has got less money than I do.
Yeah, and the thing about him, and from someone who saw 2 senators before they were replaced, Perdue and Loeffler, who voted, who actually manipulated stock, who had inside stock market stuff because they were senators and sold before that, and the only reason they got away is because Bill Barr didn't want to hammer them before an
Right.
election.
Right.
I mean, it was see, you got nothing. Tampon Tim, blah, blah, blah. You guys have dick. And you're going to tell me in 87 days you're going to find something? You
Yeah.
got nothing. Same thing with Kamala Harris. Now, the big thing is she won't talk to the press.
Right.
Okay, whatever. That's going to happen. Then what? Your
Yeah.
boss talked to the press. We saw how that worked. And that was literally him setting the whole thing up. He was literally teeing it up and he still whiffed the ball.
You know,
It was amazing.
as you were saying, if I was to, I've always been a fan of boxing ever since I was a little kid.
Mhm.
My dad kind of introduced me to it, and I've always been a fan. I even did it for a little bit until I got knocked on my ass, and I said, I'll wrestle instead. But
Oh, Russell too? Oh, we'll talk about that later.
yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
so when I watch a boxing match or even a football game for that matter,
Mhm.
you can almost sense when the team that's going to lose is going to lose. You can tell that early on
Oh, yeah.
because of their behavior. And what I see in Donald Trump and his whole team that's so different from 2016, they're fucking constantly backing up. They're reacting to shit that Kamala does. They are trying the gadget plays, if you will, and they're on the run right now. And it's impossible for somebody to turn that around when that fucking avalanche is coming down on them. It's a matter of just trying to get out of the way of it, and you can't win when that's what you're doing.
And, I mean, polls are shit,
Yeah,
but they are snapshots, and to watch everything shift that much means something. I'm
yeah.
not gonna I mean, we do have to work, and there's some other things going on, but they have no there is and there's no strategy, and then here's the report. Trump's not going on campaign for the next 3 weeks.
That's
He
the
has
crazy thing.
no campaign, nothing planned. even if you get 20 people to show up in Wisconsin, you got to do something. He's doing nothing.
Well, that's a weird thing.
What
You
the
know,
hell?
you've got Kamala and Tim Walz hitting 8 places in 8 cities, and they're going to keep this up until
Isn't there
until
one
they
tomorrow? I
yeah,
know there's one.
there's probably one tomorrow, and you know, like Tim Walz said, we can sleep when we're dead. And you know, they understand the urgency of all this thing, and they're going to work hard, and they'll run Donald Trump into the ground. He went to Montana, which was stupid because it's got no electoral votes, and he's got that thing already
There
won.
was one reason why he went to Montana. I saw Chris Hayes. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I did.
It makes sense for him.
It
I can
does.
see him. He's petty. He's a petty fuck to do that.
He
Um,
is, and that's
and even
to
at the cost.
kick
But
John Tester out because John Tester is going after Ronnie Jackson, or as Donnie calls him, Ronnie Johnson, for his doctoral shit. You know, the candy man in the White House.
I mean, Republicans turned on him. They didn't
Yeah.
want him in that position. He was, I mean, the joke about him being a pill man, that didn't come from Democrats. That came from Republicans
Yeah.
that knew
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Um, it's so, and I saw that report. I'm going. So there's one or two things. One, there's something wrong with the man. He's sick, and he's all the old shit is finally caught up with him.
I think so.
But I think,
But
more likely, they have no damn money. They're
I,
fucking broke.
yeah, I think they are broke. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. I don't know if we've talked since the press conference, but
No,
that was a red flag to people. I mean, this guy is seeing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz getting these huge crowds, getting all this attention, getting all this money, and it's pissing him off because he thinks he should be getting that. So he has to decide what he's going to do, and because he's irrational and because he's emotional, he just does the first thing he can do, and he puts together this press conference. He doesn't have to leave Mar-a-Lago. All he has to do is get out of his footy pajamas and walk downstairs and talk some shit, which is what he did. And it sounds like nobody around him was near him at the time. So he took it
yes.
upon himself to do this. And he thought he was smart and an orator, so he could pull this out. And of course, he fucked it up more. This is what I'm talking about.
And,
He's on the run. He's playing defense, and it's not going well.
and that's what, and I mean, that's one good thing about the Lawrence O'Donnell piece. He just laid it out because his biggest poignant point on that wasn't just the repeat of 2016. Was that when you go to, and I love the contrast he put in that piece of what the questions he asked, he answered. There's no repeat, and he did a comparison to Joe Biden, repealing answer the question. They kept harassing him, or his press secretary when they asked about the DACA, she said that's what it is. You can't do it, and they kept going after her. There was no
Right.
reason to go after her. Even she gave them an answer.
Right.
Trump never gives you an answer.
No.
There's never an answer. And this thing that she needs to sit down and interview, honestly, she doesn't. She can
Right.
tell the press, the main mass media, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
And oh, you know what? She doesn't have to show up for the debate either. Honestly, she doesn't have to do this debate.
No.
If he shows up at the debate, which I doubt, if shows up at the debate, he wants 304. No, brother. After this debate, and she uses you as a mop, they're done. They're not going to. They don't need another one. They don't need to have him out. They don't need to deal with that shit
Well,
anymore.
first of all, the only time people call for 3 debates is when they know they're losing. That's the only reason to call for the debate. And the interesting thing about this is, for whatever reason, he wants very badly for the Fox to debate happen before the ABC debate. And Kamala understands this. He thinks that's safe territory and he'll do better there. I've got news for him. Whether he's on Fox News or Pravda, he's not going to do well against. He's not going to do well against Kamala Harris. He's going to get destroyed. And I will tell you this: if there is a first debate, there won't be any more debates, but it won't be Kamala. It'll be Donald Trump because he will have destroyed himself in that
Yeah,
situation.
and if they did with the Chris Wallace thing and put him there with Chris Wallace, okay, I'm cool with it. But if you're going to say we're going to do this in front of a MAGA crowd, no, that's like walking into a Roman Coliseum with lions.
Right.
Screw that. That's I mean that's it's also it would be degrading to the entire campaign for president. They
Right.
would degrade it even further. The worst thing about Trump and Trumpism is that there was a certain gravitas to being president, to running for president, for being a member of Congress. There was a certain, um, respect.
There was a
I mean,
cachet of it. Yeah.
I used to laugh at when the prime minister, they used to show on PBS, prime minister would come down to Parliament and would be a shit show of yelling and screaming.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, you wouldn't see that. Yeah, I saw it now,
Yeah.
and it's sad. Um, to see what he's done. Also, he's so worn. He ruined our election process, which was secure and everyone wanted to vote.
Right.
He ruined the process with his lies because people are so dedicated to not being wrong.
Right.
I've coming to the conclusion that the last of the MAGA fucks are two things: really stupid and don't want to admit they're wrong.
I
Because
agree.
you have to admit, it's like an addict. You're going to have to hit the rock bottom to get off it.
Right.
And right now, they're looking for the last fix, and they're shaking like a motherfucker right
And
now.
there isn't anything to be had. So you think, I think you're right that money is part of the reason why Donald Trump isn't going to be campaigning. But I think it also has to do with him essentially being a little depressed and pouting. This is what narcissists do. Um, if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm just going to stay away from you. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to punish you by you being away from my wonderful presence. That's how they fucking think. And I'm sure he's, a narcissist I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
Like with my father, okay? If if uh if say he went to the grocery store and he was going to buy me popsicles, which he never did, but if say he was, and I said I wanted orange popsicles, and he came back with red popsicles. And I said, Dad, I wanted the orange popsicles. The first thing he would say is, all right, I'll never fucking buy your popsicles again. I obviously don't know what I'm doing, so I'm never buying your popsicles again. And that's the mentality that narcissists have. It's either extreme one way or another. It's the best thing or the absolute worst thing. And the audacity of somebody questioning them or not giving them what they believe they're owed, then they feel like they've got to punish in response. And since everybody loves Donnie, I'm just going to sit in Mar-a-Lago and pout, and you fuckers will have to deal with that.
But no one likes him.
He doesn't. He's a narcissist. He doesn't realize that.
It's kind of it's to an extent we're watching a fucking Greek tragedy to an extent. And I'll put it in one thing, kind of watching King Lear on the back end of King Lear,
Kind of,
where
yeah.
at the end, no one wants you, dude. No one wants you.
Yeah.
We don't want you. We don't want you people because they're disgusting and they ruin everything, and we just want you gone. I mean, if you look at it that way, yeah.
And even Republicans are now starting to turn on him. Republicans for Harris, in Arizona when he was there, when Kamala and Tim were there, the mayor of Mesa, who was a Republican, is there to support Kamala Harris. He's getting a lot of people moving away from him because he is such an embarrassment. And as we get closer to this election and more people understand that he doesn't have a fucking prayer, people are going to be stepping back. The dumb ones will stick with him. But anybody with any intelligence is going to say, "Oh fuck, I don't want to be on that heap of shit."
And the biggest, there was someone showed. I guess he called in, I think, before the Montana thing, and there was a guy with all the Trump shit. He had Trump hat, Trump shirt. He's an older guy, but he wasn't a total idiot. He asked the question to Trump, "What are you going to do about high rent? My kids can't afford it. I keep trying to help them out.
Right.
What are you going to do about it?" Do you know what Trump's response was?
I can imagine.
It was drill, baby, drill.
Yeah.
I am not kidding. Meanwhile, on the comparison piece, Kamala Harris in her stump speech is, we're going to go after corporate landlords because they are buying. The reason you're looking at home prices, you've got money. What do they call hedge funds buying
Right.
real estate.
Right. Right.
Here in Georgia, there are entire fucking housing developments owned by one corporate
Right.
entity, and you pay the rent to one corporate entity.
Right.
That is wrong. There's something wrong about that because that should not be owned by a corporate entity. They got into it, and now they control. They're not even selling the real estate; they're just renting them,
Yeah.
and then it goes to a hedge fund. And there's something that's what we're fighting is this corporate motherfucking greed who's trying to squeeze everyone out of the market for a few people. No, and not a goddamn socialist. That's just not right.
Well, and that's where Republicans get it wrong. They always say, "Well, Democrats want to put on regulations, all these regulations." And the fact of the matter is these regulations are absolutely necessary
Mhm.
because greedy, wealthy people cannot be trusted to try to not try to game the system. If you don't put regulations on them, they will take it out of your ass. And Donald Trump, I heard somebody on Fox News. I don't watch Fox News. My wife wanted to check it out. And so we're watching it and they're saying all the bad things the Democrats are doing. They want free lunches for kids. They want to stop fracking. They want to make abortion legal. I'm going, all that doesn't sound bad to me, but that's their mindset. Anything the
Right.
Democrats want, they don't agree with, and they don't even care whether they believe it's bad or wrong. All they do is try to find a way to make it look bad, and that's their only strategy.
Yeah, and the thing about it, if you look at it from a common sense thing, your governor did the lunch thing. I don't think he got federal funding, did he?
No, no,
This is state funding.
yeah,
Okay. Louisiana was offered 200, $150 million free lunches. The governor rejected it. Ron DeSantis was offered $270 federal money for free lunches. They rejected it. What's they're saying? We don't want to bring socialism into the schools. What the fuck is social? What is feeding kids to make sure they have a lunch? Socialist.
well,
I don't get this bullshit.
it's better
It
explained this way. They want to own the libtards and they don't want the liberals to look good. I mean, that's their whole strategy. We don't want anything good to happen when Democrats are in play, but when the Democrats are in play, we don't want to do anything because we don't have to. That's why the Republicans are obstructionist pieces of shit, and that's why we got to get them out if we hope to do anything good for this country.
and the thing is like we've been sold
Yeah.
this bullshit,
Well,
this
some people have.
economic.
You and I haven't been sold, but a lot
Well,
of people
but
have.
but it goes back to the '80s and Reagan and the s- um, the
Trickle
trickle down
down.
economics, which and the Milton Friedman economics, which everyone said does not work, but they got the Republicans to buy into it, and then they sold us this bill of goods. They've sold us a bill of goods. There is an economic concept of opportunity. If you do one thing, you can't do another. You
Right.
make a choice. Okay. So if you get the hamburger, you can't get the hot dog.
Right.
You make a choice, you live with it. And so they took that to the extreme that you can't have a system to help people if they go down and have a healthy economy. It's one or the other.
Right.
You can't have government programs to help education, or you can't have that because it has to fit into a budget.
Right.
It's a myth.
Well,
Because again, the argument I had with a lot of these people with the NATO and the spending budget, we're spending money, why are we spending home? And my comment will always be the same. We can do both.
right. Right. Well,
And there's
that's always the
so,
complaint when it comes to doing anything for the people in this country. They go, we can't afford that. That's expensive. That'll put our kids in debt forever. That comment never comes up when it comes to giving $2 trillion in a tax
right.
break for rich people or give $1 trillion in the defense budget. Nobody ever complains about us not being able to afford it then. It again, it's a scenario that's been passed along by the Republicans and people have bought into it in terms of trickle down theory. We've been doing it for 45 years, hasn't worked yet. When does the test end?
It ends. I think it ends this time if we're smart.
I think
Because
so.
I mean, I'm going back to that guy. He asked a legitimate question,
Yeah.
and the Republican candidate for president gave him a bullshit answer.
Give him no
Um,
answer because he
he gave
doesn't.
him no answer.
I don't know if it's
He doesn't know
because,
it.
yeah, he's not smart enough to answer questions. He doesn't answer questions.
I mean, Rick Wilson said a comment is that a lot of people believe that Donald Trump really can't read.
Yeah.
That it was hidden for years. That he has a problem and he never admitted to it. And like that the briefings in the White House. I mean, when you got a presidential briefing, like it's pages, and you have to
Yeah.
go through it. They literally have to do pictograms
Right.
because I mean, it, it, there's so much I don't understand about Trumpism to an extent that the dedication of people to it. I mean, it's got to be the hate. I can't see what they get from it. These poor people. I mean, as one person said, you can't afford groceries, but you sure is going to buy a fuckload of Trump merch.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, where is the disconnect? And I mean, I don't get it. And I think at this point, I don't care anymore to get it
No,
because
there's not.
I can't help you.
It's like
Um, yeah.
it's like sitting down with a schizophrenic and having them tell you what they're thinking, and then you try to figure it out and rationalize it out. You can't. You can't
But I
even
can
go into that mindset.
but I can forgive a schizophrenic because I know they have a problem.
Well,
I
maybe these
can't.
people have a problem too.
Yeah,
Mentally
it's
they're diminished or
yeah. It's just uh, I'm I'm not perfect. I know that my wife would be the first to tell you. And I do stupid
I'd back
shit.
her up on that. I'd back
Yeah,
her up on that.
there you go. And I do stupid shit, and I'm not perfect.
Me too.
And but I'm but I want but I'm practical to the point that I can see the bullshit when I hear it. And I just don't know how we bought into 8 years of bullshit. Oh no, let me go back. 45 years of bullshit. And the hardest thing we have to get around is that I get Republicans for Harris. And I'll say this what I said before. The enemy is my enemy, is my ally, but I will not fucking trust a Republican for the
No.
next 2 decades until that party is flushed out.
Well, absolutely. And that's what I've said before. When this is all over and all falls apart for Donald Trump and he crumbles into a heap, there will be Republicans that said, yeah, I never liked him. Well, I tell you what, for the last 4 years, you stood by him. Maybe you didn't believe what he believed. Maybe you didn't push what he believed, but you allowed him to do it. And as far as I'm concerned, you're an accessory after the fact.
There's a great German movie from and I remember seeing it's a German movie from the late 70s. It's called The Dirty Girl. And what's this about is this a small town in Germany, and she did a history piece on her town, the history of the town. She found out that her town were Nazi collaborators.
Wow.
They were big time SS Nazi collaborators, but everyone forgot about it after the war. And
Right.
she brought it all up and she started bringing out, and she got the whole movie is about her exposing these people and their reaction to her. And they called her a dirty girl. How could you bring this up? Because you old folks helped them.
Right.
You literally helped people go put in concentration camps. And she called you out on it. And that's what we're going to see is that they're going to fall into work. But we can't forget it because
No.
you guys enabled it. And that's the one thing about this election above anything else, guys. If you hear one thing from me, and a lot of people I've already seen the comments, you think I speak too much. Great, I do. Let me make this clear. Vote for the president for blue. Vote for Harris and Walz. But if you do not vote blue down the ballot, it's worthless
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're going to give power back to Republicans and they will use it against us again because they do not give a flying fuck about us in discussion, even before Trump.
Well, I will say this too, and I've said it before, is that when this is all said and done, and all these people are trying to run away from Donald Trump, you can call me small-minded or whatever you want to call me. But when you have a group of people, whether they were accessories or they were actually involved in it, attempting to overthrow this country, undermine democracy, and overturn elections, I don't forget and I will never
Mm.
forgive.
The
There is no
biggest,
forgiveness there.
there is none. And the biggest fucking mistake that Joe Biden did was Merrick Garland.
Oh, I
Biggest
agree.
motherfucking mistake. Because you need, because I'll tell you one thing, soon as um, Kamala Harris on January 20th in the afternoon there, she will get Merrick Garland's fucking resignation and Christopher Wray's. And then we're going to put some bulldogs in there. I don't
Absolutely.
care if it's Jack Smith, anyone, Eric Holder. I want someone in there to go, okay, call it what you want, but it's not payback, it's justice time.
This,
Because all you people have Arizona. Did you hear this little story? The false elector thing in
oh,
Arizona.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
grand jury came out. The grand jury wanted to indict Trump.
Right.
They wanted him indicted. The prosecutor said, whoa, 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 wait. I see what you're saying, but we don't have enough evidence for that. So they backed away from it. But it's a done. They indicted him. It's ready to go once they get the evidence.
Right.
It's coming. And same thing. It's like there's reports that some of the January 6th people in jail are starting to flip, saying, "Yeah, I met with Gosart. I met with Bolbert.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
I met with these. I met with Mark Meadows. Yeah, they were giving us our marching orders what to do on the 6th. I mean, and the problem is this unbelievable idea that we can't look like we're going after them during an election, dude. If they did the crime, they must pay.
Absolutely.
Fuck
Absolutely.
this. And they're these criminals who who were able to get someone for all the violence and everything. And I don't know why this is the biggest thing that bugs me. And I go back and remember watching that live. The one thing that pissed me off the most wasn't them bringing the American flag down and putting up a Trump flag on the Capitol. Was
Yeah.
that motherfucker bringing in the Confederate flag into the Capitol building?
Yeah, that was a bridge too
Every
far.
every person who died in Gettysburg, on in Wilderness, Little Round Top, you fuck.
Yeah,
Are you kidding me?
that was bullshit. That was
I mean,
absolutely
and see,
disrespectful, to say
and
the
it's
least.
just the heart that when this we have to do this way, and you can call it retribution or anything. I call it justice.
Yeah,
It is time to go after these people and make them pay for what they did. It's simple as that.
absolutely.
Um, it's frustrating for
Well,
that point.
I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll
Mhm.
come back. We got plenty of shit to talk about. I see
Yeah.
that Will's still wired up, so his wife texted me and said, "Listen, he's all wired up. Get this out of his system before you let him go." So we got some
Yeah,
work to
got
do.
you.
We got some work
Appreciate
to
you.
do, and tell your wife it's only $75 an hour. The
You're cheap.
therapy. I know. Well, we're friends, and I cut a
Got you.
deal.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, we'll be right back after this.
Okay.
We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Will is with us today, whatever time you're listening to this. This is actually being recorded late Saturday night, and you're going to hear it probably Monday morning is when you're going to hear it, because yesterday we had Abe Gurko on. Abe is a guy that's
Oh,
been on a number of times. He does a great show, and he said, "I got to talk to you." So we did the talk, and I'm a little ahead on the podcast, which is rare enough. Um, but well, people will say to me now, if Donald Trump doesn't get elected, and he won't, and we get power in the House and the Senate with the Democrats, what the hell are you going to talk about? And I think the one thing that people don't understand is when Donald Trump loses and we get some power in the House and the Senate, and that grip that Donald Trump has on the throat of the Republican Party, when that's wrested away, there is going to be a purge of shit that we find out. We think we've heard all the crazy shit that happened and all the dirty stuff and all the corrupt shit. We ain't heard nothing yet.
nope.
It's all going to fall loose. Like if you ate at a bad restaurant and you're in your 60s, you know what happens. It's just going to flow, and there's going to be a lot of shit that we're going to go, oh my God, I had no fucking idea, especially about Trump.
Yeah, you're going to find a lot of corn in there, basically.
Thanks for that image.
You're good. Well, it's basically what you're saying in
Yeah,
the end.
it's true.
Um, and especially if a lot of these people go to court, they're just going to cover their ass, and we're going to
Yeah,
see that. Um, but yeah, it's going to be what we're going to talk about afterwards. We're going to talk about improving this country and seeing things change. The only people that are going to be disappointed is pundits who made their life, who's made their career after being negative.
right,
The one thing I've heard a lot of people say about Tim Walz, and I think you said it, but I caught on many people and some women on TikTok. They reminded her dad they lost to Rush
right,
Limbaugh,
right,
to Fox News.
right.
And I remember listening to Limbaugh in the early days, and I'm going, and people were just, I, he tapped into such deep hate, and it
Right.
was so sad to think. Because the thing about it, the other side they have to think about it, you didn't kind of lose your dad. Your dad was kind of there.
Yeah.
It just kind of floated up. Now you have to come to the realization your dad was that person that you really didn't want him to be. It's
Yeah.
kind of sad in that sense if you
Well,
look at it.
I've said all along, and you would know this better as a man of color. White people like me would have said, "Yeah, the racism stuff has gotten better," and it may have appeared as though it gotten better, but I know enough people of color. The racism has never gotten better. It was bad in the '60s. It was bad in the '70s. The only difference is everybody went under the rocks when it wasn't appropriate to say the
Mhm.
things they used to say in the 60s and 70s. It wasn't until Donald Trump came along and said, "Hey, water's warm up here. It's great. Come on up. Say whatever the fuck you want." And that's why it appears as though there's more racism now. I don't think there's more racism. It's just that people are unashamed of being racist.
And it's you deal with it, and then you got social media, and you got the many podcasts of people that would never say half this shit in the open. I mean, it's people are tired of it because I think that's why you've seen the reaction to the current campaign. And I mean, um, there's whispers of someone's found out that there's a Google search going on. The question is, will my husband find out how I voted? And it's coming from Texas.
Yeah.
And that's if that's true, if I'm a Republican strategist, I'm scared.
Yeah.
You're fucked. Because in Texas, in Louisiana, in Alabama, you literally have a handmaid's tale.
Yeah.
You have Gilead in Texas.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, that's what it is. And women want to be open about, but women have never, ever, 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 ever been subservient. I don't give a fuck what century you're talking about. Okay, they just did shit in the background to deal with it.
Right.
Okay, I mean, don't go back to the 1950s. Trust me, I know a lot of men who did that shit probably died in mysterious circumstances. I mean, be honest. Let's look at it in the open. I've been married long enough. I've dealt with other women long enough.
Yeah.
What someone made a great TikTok, and I kept it. He goes, the best women in your life are the ones that aggravated you the most.
Yep.
The ones that are will be the most aggravating in your life because those are the ones that will stand up for themselves, stand up for you, and stand up for everything you believe in.
Yeah.
He goes,
That's
those
true.
are the special ones, and that's if you're lucky, you get one. So I can't. So what you're seeing right now is that a lot of people, a lot of women have been, especially white women, have been kind of cruising. Now they see what's going on. That these people that you trusted to take care of you are not going to take care of you. They've
Right.
turned their back on you and they're actually going to harm you. They're probably going to harm your daughter. So now they're kind of going, I can't do this in the open. What can I do? Well, if they do that, if that's true, that would be that I can't even believe the earthquake that would cause to the political landscape.
No,
The
no.
it would be insane
Well,
if that happened.
this isn't the 50s anymore, and the women aren't going to take shit. I mean, I know if I told my wife what to do or how to vote, I would wake up in the middle of the night and she'd be standing over me with a boiling pot of water and a pillow. I'm just saying, and she
Yeah.
would be justified in doing it. I've said that this election, if you want to title it, you know how news stations always title different news events. This is going to be the presidential election for and by women.
Hmm.
This is an all out war against women and people of color and LGBTQ folks. And these fuckers are going to get their revenge because it's their very lives that are at risk. It's not like we're taking tax dollars from them or calling them names. We're putting their lives at risk. These people are fighting for their lives. And if you've
Hmm.
got a woman who's fighting for her kids or her family or for her very life, that's a dangerous animal. Trust me, I
Exactly.
know that.
And they and you see it. You could. It just there's a feeling, and again we had talked about a little bit about the fear when we started here. We're talking about fear mongering and a
Right,
lot of stuff that the media is bringing up. Part of it's on the elections, the deniers. Texas apparently has flushed out 2.1 million voters.
right.
Ohio did 150,000. In my state of Georgia, we've got the election board doing their shit, and people are in kind of they're trying to get people in a panic mode. There's only one thing difference here going on. People are aware of this shit. I
Yeah.
checked my registration. I re-registered. I'm good again. I checked it. If they try to do this stuff in Georgia, like they said, yeah, they may be able to question the results again. And these people are looking for another inquiry into Fulton County and their at the vote counting back in 2020. Whatever. Good luck with that. They've done 6 of those already. But the law in Georgia is the Monday after the election, each county must turn their certifications. It's the law.
Right.
If you do not do the certifications in that time, you're in violation of said law. If they try to do that, you're going to end up going to court, and there's no way. And even a conservative judge in Georgia, we have them, but they also follow the law pretty much. They're going to say, no, the law is that. Stop.
Yeah.
And so I don't want people because we are riding a high, but we got to do the work.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
think we discussed it earlier. Said I don't think this momentum is going to stop because the opposition can't stop it. They have nothing. The only people that can stop it is us. If we start overthinking it. Um, I'm not worried about that. I'm not even worried about violence. Um, the Vindman, the gentleman who was run out by Trump that caused the first impeachment, um,
Right.
Colonel Vindman, him and a bunch of people got together and did a movie, and they're speculating that if Trump loses the election, that there are some units of the military are going to break off and march on Washington on
I doubt
January
that.
6th. And I'm like going, would you really violate your oath to the Constitution for him?
Lose your pension, lose your
I, I
standing.
mean,
No.
I mean, and they said, well, they did this whole thing like how they're going to deal with it. I mean, I could see a bunch of Navy SEALs trying that, but
Yeah.
really, are you going to break off a unit? Is there really officers? Because I'm not talking lieutenants. You're talking about colonels and lieutenant colonels units.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't buy that. I don't see that happening.
I mean,
That would be that would be career suicide. And for
and I
no
just
reason.
and the thing about it is again, Joe Biden is still president. And let's go back to we're talking about women. You heard Trump. They brought up Roe v. Wade. No, it's fine. They don't care.
Right.
No, yeah, don't worry about it. That's a done deal. No, it's good. Everyone liked what I did. It's all good. Don't worry about it. It's all good. Yeah, keep
Just
talking that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. He's either trying to convince himself or he's too stupid to know any better. But as I mentioned in the previous podcast, we've heard that ploy before.
Right.
COVID's a hoax. When it warms up, it'll be gone. It's no big deal. We got it covered. I mean, that's what Donald Trump does when he has something approaching him that's going to hurt him in an election. And I've seen narcissists do this too. Also, act like it's nothing. Nothing's there to try to convince other people to believe like he does, and
Mhm.
he'll deal with the. See, that's the thing with Donald Trump. Donald Trump will say something to work for him at that moment. He doesn't look beyond here. He doesn't look at what's going to happen down the road. And the whole idea that the abortion thing isn't a big deal, isn't a big issue. I've said from the beginning, it's the biggest issue.
Yeah.
It's the only issue we need to beat the Republicans.
And the thing about it, it's not people. They couch it as abortion. It's not abortion. Okay. It's not abortion on demand. It is. It's medical.
It's
It's
reproductive
reproductive
health.
health.
Yeah.
And the point is, abortion sometimes is part of reproductive health, and they confuse that with abortion because someone got pregnant, they don't want a child. That's not the issue here. That's an issue, but that's a choice. But if a woman comes in an atopical pregnancy, that's going to cost her life, and you can't do an abortion because it's against the law, and you say that's not enough threat to her life, and they die on the hospital floor, there's something wrong here. Or the majority of OBGYNs are leaving your state because they don't want to deal with it. Because
Right.
part of it isn't when just a law. They try to get malpractice insurance. And if, as an insurance agent myself, you're probably a lot of carriers are pulled out.
Yeah.
No, we're not covering you. We're not doing it because the risk to us is too high.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's these, they, they, the problem with the narrative with abortion is that the far right and the Christian right coached it in those terms.
Well, did you
As
hear? Did you hear in that press conference somebody asked him about mifepristone?
oh God, yes,
He had no clue what they were talking about. He
it's
had no
has
idea.
no idea. And then they asked him, what's your take on the abortion vote here in Florida? I'm going to have a press conference on it.
Yeah.
He's I don't know what's going on with the man. As we discussed earlier, he's not going to be on a campaign trail. But you saw that unhinged statement he said about Joe Biden coming back on the DNC to take back his place. Did you see that post of his?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, in the Montana speech, he said it again. He said it in the open. He said that. Well, I expect him to come back in August and the DNC and take back his spot and
Right.
challenge me to a debate. He said that on the fucking podium.
That's
And then
wishful thinking. He
yeah,
wishes that happened.
but JD Vance out there doing his little stalking thing, they asked him, "Are you going to debate Tim Walz?" And he said, "No, because I don't know who the. I mean, I'm happy to debate Kamala Harris because she's the vice president. Because I don't even think that she's going to be the nominee coming up in when they get to the convention. He's part of that whole thing. That's their fantasy,
Yeah.
and so there's such a. I don't know why it's so close polls wise. I don't know why it's so. It doesn't seem that it is trending. It shouldn't be close. It can't be close in
I
November
don't I
5th.
don't think it's close at all. The things we hear, the polls are one thing, and the polls are now trending toward Kamala, and that's fine. I still don't trust the polls. The fact is when you hear the things that are going on in Arizona,
Hmm.
he's up, and the way it's going in Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and even Florida, I think this is more likely a landslide than it is close.
Someone did a. I caught this. It was a projection of the House. The way things are going right now,
Yeah,
and their projection was 390 Democratic.
yeah, I believe that.
That's what you don't even have a second party if it's
No,
390 Democrats.
no,
I mean, good luck hoarding those cats.
yeah.
I mean, if because that's going to be the biggest thing to discuss when Democrats get that much power. Good man, you're going to have to crack a whip on a lot of them. because they're
Well,
going to piecemeal a
Well, I tell
lot.
you, if you get that kind of power in the House and say we gain a couple seats in the Senate, that may be that people say that's asking for a lot. But the thing about it is if you look back in history when we've seen landslides,
Hmm.
everything is lined up. With all the bad things going for the Republicans and nothing good, and abortion and the immunity and the criminal convictions, this is lined up. If anybody looked at it from just a factual basis, this
Hmm.
is the perfect storm for a fucking landslide. These are the worst candidates in the history of this country.
And the only reason it was close before because Joe Biden had issues, and the media had able. See, the problem with the media right now, they have no footing. They spent all
Yeah.
they really spent what they had to get rid of Joe Biden. They're celebrating that. Now they're looking at it going, "Oh shit, we don't have a contest." And
Right.
they're trying to manufacture stuff. Well, now they hear you. They talk to like pundits and they ask, well, shouldn't the vice president been doing press conferences or talking to the press or doing interview? Why?
Yeah. You
Why
don't have
does
to
she
do
need to
shit.
do that? She doesn't have. They're just trying to manufacture stuff. Or the Jake Tapper.
He's the worst. I'm so tired of him.
I had to take a deep breath. He was interviewing your governor before he became VP.
Yeah.
And then he was laying out all he did, this, and this. You see that piece?
I did.
This, and this. And he goes, "Don't you think that's big government?" "Oh yeah, I'm a monster because I get free lunch to kids." That's why
Yeah.
I love the dude.
Yeah.
He didn't try to explain it. He didn't try to say this is the best. He didn't do it in political speak. He just said, "Yeah." He did sarcasm, and that boom, take
Well,
that.
that's what I like about Tim Walz is when he talks to JD Vance or anybody he talks to, they don't know what to do with him because he's not going to play by the political rules. He's just a guy. He's going to talk straight, and they're not used to dealing with people that do that. So Tim Walz is going to confound them.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing too when it comes to herding cats. I don't know. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries will probably be Speaker of the House.
Yeah,
I don't know if that'll happen because I think there's going to be a little press back on him. In the Senate, I'm not a fan of Chuck Schumer. I don't think he
I'm
has
not
the
either.
best interest in harm. Um,
I don't think he's strong enough either.
yeah, and I know not only is he strong, I think he's still mired in. He's old
Yeah,
and he's old school,
yeah.
and the old school is not going to work. And I get it to an extent because you're going to have to handle until we get rid of the filibuster. We're fucked because you got to deal with people like Mitch McConnell
Right,
and that idiot Tommy Tuberville out of Alabama. They're going to be in the Senate, and
right.
even J.D. Vance will still be in the Senate. And they have the power to filibuster until someone has the balls to say, "We don't care if you get back into power." I want someone to say, "We don't care you'll get back into power because you know why? You're not getting back into power again."
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And that somebody has to take a stand because every time the question about the filibuster is up, the people who are benefiting from it at that moment, and it's been Democrats and Republicans back and
Right.
forth. Somebody's got to say, okay, if we get rid of the filibuster, then it's going to be strong for the other team when they get in that position. But like you say, this is a perfect time to get rid of it because the Republicans may take 10 years to come back into power.
It might even take longer because
Yeah.
even if that map is close, if the Republicans get maybe 100 seats, that's 325 for Democrats. You're just basically sit in the corner and shut the fuck up because
Right.
you're nothing. And the Senate, and that's what we need because again, everyone talks about Barack Obama. Obama didn't have that.
No.
Part of me and part of me thinks that I don't think he could have been effective with it, considering the time, and that he was the first man of color as president. I think there are a lot of people in the Democratic elite did not like him. Um, that time it's all wrong. This time is right because as you know the stat, I know the stat. 20 million of boomers are dead.
Right.
They're gone. 40 million Gen Z are about to come up, and they don't see the world like we've seen the world. They see the
No.
world in a totally different. They see it in a different manner, and they don't. They want the same things that we did, but they want it in a different way.
Right.
And it's time to accommodate that way.
Right.
Because this way has not worked. We failed
You know,
in our generation for these
the
people.
thing is, I've said with the millennials and the Gen Zs playing a big role in this election and really taking over because they'll have the biggest voting block in 2028. There's going to be a youth movement, like if it were a sports team. And with Joe Biden still running, it was presumed that we'd have to wait till 2028 for that youth movement. But I think we're going to see it right after this election. They're going to embrace some of the. I mean, like for example, if you want the leader in the Senate, there are better choices than Mitch McConnell or people or even Chuck Schumer. How about Amy Klobuchar? She's been there
Oh
for a
God,
long time.
yes.
She'd be
Or
perfect
Tammy
for it.
Baldwin from Illinois.
Exactly.
I mean, because the problem with Chuck Schumer, and I'll say it straight out, he's just mired in rules, old
Yeah.
rules. It's time to move on, and I
Yeah.
just hope that someone has the balls in the Senate to tell him that, because we can't do the same things.
Right.
That's the thing. We have an opportunity to make this country even better. We can have it all. I'm sorry. I do not buy into the if or and choice. We can
No.
have it all. There's no reason why we can't. I mean, why can't we have a strong military and a strong economy that benefits everyone? They should go hand in hand. Why
If we
can't we support
if we can't do that, we got the wrong fucking system.
it? Gotcha. Why can't we have the strong military, NATO, and all that, and our country is fine? I've been fighting with these fucking people about the whole Palestinian thing. And first of all, you folks, if you hear me, I'll make this clear. There's a ceasefire on the fucking table. Who is the one person not wanting to do the ceasefire? Let me guess. Benjamin Netanyahu. Why does Benjamin Netanyahu not want to have a ceasefire? Because he's a convicted fucking felon.
Yeah, and he'll
He is
go to
convicted
jail.
in, yeah, he's convicted in Israeli court for fraud. The only reason he's not in jail because he's still prime minister. He's holding on by by the skin of his teeth.
Right.
He knows this. If that's so true that the United States is functioning as genocide, why did not Benjamin Netanyahu meet with the president when he came to the United States?
Yeah.
Why did he go to Congress behind the president's back? Why the fuck was he in Mar-a-Lago talking
Good
to
point.
Trump?
Yeah.
And so in this whole protest thing, one, I think they're agent provocateurs paid by certain people, Russians.
Yeah.
And two, they're just young, narrow-minded fools. And I've got into a battle with one of them, and they said, "Well, you're blue MAGA. You want to believe everything. You don't take other people's opinion. You're going to force them not to vote." And my response to him, I'm going to paraphrase from the first Avengers movie from Colonel Nick Fury. Since this is a stupid ass opinion, I'm going to ignore it because it's a stupid ass opinion. Because the point is, you believe that not voting or being uncommitted or voting or not voting or voting for a third party is going to solve your problem?
Right.
It's not going to solve your problem because there's a bigger problem there, and that's Donald Trump and his buddy and his son-in-law who want to buy that land and push every Palestinian to the Egyptian desert. They have said it.
The thing about it
True.
is I've talked to and I know some younger people. There is not one younger person I've ever talked to that feels compelled to protest like we've seen these protests. And I do believe that there is a lot of paid provocateurs that are trying to do
Exactly.
this. Maybe not all of them. Maybe there are some kids. But we had Andy on the show, the
Mhm.
Gen Z guy, and he says, I don't like it, but I'm still voting for Biden. At the time, he
Mhm.
would have been. The point is it's like when the media tries to tell us, well, Joe Biden might be in trouble when he was running because of the Israeli thing. I said, please explain to me how you can take a millennial or a Gen Z. I have two millennial sons. I know how they think.
Mhm.
Do you really think they'd cut their own throats and go along with overturning Roe v. Wade just to save Israel? I'm sorry, they're not that internationally minded. They're worried about what's going to affect them.
And the biggest problem with they can't. We are an ally with Israel.
Right,
We are not but we're not an ally with the Israeli government. The Israeli government is not Israel. You do not break an alliance because their government sucks.
right.
We know their government sucks, but we're still going to protect the people of Israel because that's our alliance with them.
I mean, do you
That's
think do you think NATO would be on our side if Donald Trump was president and he decides to bomb Belgium? Do you
no.
think NATO would get to us because they're allies with us? And it's about the leader. And like you said, Netanyahu is a fucking criminal. He's going to jail and he's trying to stay out as much as he can. But the time's going to come and it's going to end. And he's just biding his time like Donald Trump has been doing. Push it out, push the goalposts back, but eventually it's going to come crashing down.
And he keeps doing stuff to aggravate it. I heard that there was another incident, a Gaza bombing that may have been in a children's hospital. You
Uh,
don't know because Hamas is a lying sack of shit too.
right,
Um, but see, he's going on the way to aggravate it, and that's the thing. And people will probably say, "Well, you don't support." No, I support the Palestinian people. I support the
right,
Israeli people.
right.
The problem is Hamas and Benjamin Netanyahu.
I
You
agree.
get rid of those, then you can find a two state solution, because the Palestinians can have an economy based on um, beach resorts, based on tourism.
Right,
They are on some prime land, and all they have to do is been given the right to do so.
right.
The problem is that everything's based on fear. Fear of this, fear of that, fear of this. The Israelis, a good portion of Israeli citizens are Arab.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the thinking or the I'm trying to look at the way it looks like the perception. There it is. The perception of the Israelis of the Israeli people is that they're all white Jews. They're
right.
not. They're
No,
a conglomerate of Jewish and Arabs and people who were born there and they mix race. It's all like us. It's only those on top on the far right who give us that impression and ruin it. These people want peace.
that's all they want.
And and on October 7th, the Hamas attacked a peace festival.
Right.
And that's another thing, you Palestinian you fools who have this one track mind genocide thing. You never acknowledge what Hamas did on October 7th. You never do it. I've had some of you people say, oh, yeah, well, they were just defending our land. Really? That? And then for the Israelis, you we warned them, don't do it. Don't do what we did on 9/11. Well, no, they did it. We knew what's going to happen. Now we're trying to try to make it better. We're stuck in a rock and a hard place, and Kamala Harris is doing her best with what we got.
Right.
And if you're in my biggest, I'm pretty sure, and I'll predict this, probably 90%, the DNC, these people are going to show up at the DNC in Chicago, and they're going to
Uh,
make a mess. They're going to try to make a mess. I
yeah.
hope not. Um,
I think it's a fair
And
bet that they will. I mean, if the Republicans have anything to do with it, if the Russians have anything to do with it, this is what they do. They create chaos, they create messes, and they try to have it rub off on Democrats or good people in general, and it won't work. I mean, the thing
yeah,
about it is,
that's what these are concerns that come out.
yeah,
But going back to the theme of I think this entire broadcast today is that I, for the first time, I'm going to say it, I'm optimistic in the
oh,
sense of not winning the election. I'm optimistic that this momentum, this big rock, is literally the snowball rolling down the hill and getting bigger.
I
It's an
agree.
avalanche. And I don't see how you can stop it because you can't. There's no way to stop it because the message is resounding in every corner of the country.
Right,
Everyone is hearing the message, and the message is hope. It's hope.
right,
We've been hopeless for so fucking long. Well, the worst thing about COVID was that it was handled so bad, it killed our hope. It
yeah,
was hopeless. It was, we don't have a plan. You got this crazy man every day talking about injecting bleach. We're trying to find toilet paper. God, can I go out? My family's dying. I can't see anyone. They're dying. They're doing mass graves. What are we going to do? And then Joe Biden gave us a respite.
yeah.
But now it's back again. And I think the biggest factor that people keep forgetting about between us in 2016 and 2020 is that we know who Donald Trump is.
Yeah,
We've seen this act.
yeah.
And
And we're
if
tired
we
of it.
were tired of it, but the Joe Biden presentation kind of enhanced his act.
Yeah,
The Kamala Harris presentation of what we're doing is saying, this look, we have cookies over here, guys. Look what we can do. It's only be
yeah,
really good. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have to help me bake the cookies and make the cookies, but each of you can make your own cookie,
right.
and it's going to be really good because no one's going to stop you from going to the oven and getting the ingredients to make your cookie.
Well, you talked about the momentum and whether it's going to hold on or not till November. We've got a lot of things to inspire that momentum as we go along. First of all, we have these rallies, and every rally
Mm,
they go to, you get these record crowds, and the excitement is there. On September, we've got the convention coming up next
mm,
week or something like that. That's going to spur more momentum. We've got possibly a debate on September 10th. That's going to spur some momentum. Then we've got the sentencing on September 18th. That's going to spur some momentum. And it's all the other shit that's going to come out between September 18th and November 5th, the October surprises. And I have a feeling there's going to be a couple of them.
yeah, they're going to be Donald Trump's October surprises.
Right.
There's nothing for Kamala Harris. There's nothing for Tim Walz. There are no surprises. There are no investigations. Now I'm hearing rumblings in the Senate and the House where James Comer and them and Jim Jordan are looking to investigate Kamala Harris for something, and that's going to go nowhere.
Well, how have they
It's
done in the past with that? The investigation of Hunter and Joe Biden, they went fucking nowhere.
nowhere. I mean,
They're
they're
a
going to,
joke.
but see, he's coming up for sentencing. He went to the Supreme Court again and said, you need to stop this for after the election. 7 out of 9 said no, 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 we're not stopping the case, the felony case in New York, because he went to them and they said no, we're not stopping it. We'll let the judge do his thing. The only two that did not agree were Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. What a
Right.
shock! Um, so he's coming up, and the thing about it is that Judge Merchan, I think he's going to send us into jail.
I do too. I do
I
too.
think he's good. Now he'll send us in the jail. I think he's going to remand him until appeal. I don't think he'll put him in jail, but he's going to send us into jail.
Right.
And Homeboy's going to have to deal with that. And his psych, one of the reasons he's running around desperate, he knows it's coming.
Yeah.
If he loses, he's going to jail, or as one person, he's going to spend the rest of his meager life in court. And the other
Yeah.
thing is, he's going to lose the appeal on the $500 million. He's going to cough that up.
Yeah.
He's already going to lose the appeal on the 80 million. He's got to cough that up. They're going to break him financially.
Yeah.
See, we're watching end of a tyrant.
Yeah.
And someone brought up, I think it was Vesci with a point about the joy thing.
Right.
He brought up Augusto Pinochet. And he goes, in 1988, they had a referendum on whether Pinochet should continue as dictator. And so the Chileans people, and going against him was a deadly idea.
Yeah.
So instead of coaching it as all the things he did wrong, they coached it as we can be free. Look how we can be joyful again. This is what we can get if we get our country back. All this joy, all this hope.
Right.
And he got crushed
Yeah.
because we know what Trump is. Voting against Trump is it should be a natural instinct.
Right.
But what do I get? So maybe it is a transaction because I'm watching the hope of what we can look forward to if we do the right thing.
Well, it's like when you chip away at a dam. You
Mhm.
chip it away, it becomes a little weaker and a little weaker. And this is what happened with Donald Trump. Gets a little weaker, and then eventually it gets too weak, and it just fucking flows through it. That's why I'm saying what's going to happen with Donald Trump when it goes down, it will happen quick, and you will see people scurrying around not knowing what the fuck to do.
Now we're gonna. I mean, there will be a reaction. Something we'll have to deal with. I don't think it's going to be the mass scale some people think it
No,
is.
I don't think so.
I think there'll be some rattling, some screaming and yelling, but everyone keeps forgetting he's not in power anymore.
Right.
And even the Republicans in Congress can't stop it. They're running around figuring out. I mean, I haven't heard a goddamn thing from anyone in Congress. Have you?
No, nothing.
Not a fucking word. They say they're recessed, but these mouths come out of nowhere.
Right.
They haven't said a word. Why? Because they're running scared. There's rumors of Jack Smith. They know they can smell. A lot of them are going to be dead. Are basically going to lose their seats big time. They're all scrambling for positions. They know it's coming. Even Mike Johnson, that little weasel, know it's coming.
Yeah, he knows it's coming.
And it's going to land. I think of Pandora's box.
I do too. That's kind of what it's going to be like.
And in 16, we opened that box. We let that loose. But in the corner was hope.
Yeah.
And hope took a while to kind of bring back to life. But it's starting to come back for us again. Because when the crowd started chanting USA,
yeah,
for the first time, it did not disgust me.
Right. I mean, that's one thing my wife's always said too. We've got to take back the flag for the right reasons, as opposed to what it represents now. And people chanting USA, they did it. It fit. It worked, and we took that motherfucker back. It's about
because,
time.
Yeah, and I feel bad to an extent for those who have invested their life for the last 8 years in Donald Trump.
I don't.
Well, I mean, in the sense that afterwards, it's like whenever a cult fails, it's pretty bad for the people.
Yeah.
Fail. I hope it's not as bad as it can be. We could see that in mass. I hope not. These people are crazy enough to do something like that. Because once you're devoted to something like that and you're proven wrong, or your leader fails, and you're totally into it, a lot of people will think what they have to live for. I hope they don't go there, because there's a lot more to live for. Maybe families will come back together. I hope.
I've told you before. I have some family members that kind of came after me. I never really argued with them, but they said shit, so I said shit back, and then they get all upset. I can't forgive those people because what they did, they're supporting somebody either stupidly or evil, in an evil way. They were supporting somebody who wanted to damage this country, and it wouldn't affect me so much, but it's going to affect my kids and my grandkids. And if you fuck with my kids and grandkids, there's no going back.
I mean, that's the hardest thing I think as we're coming, um, like at the end of Hamilton, they won the war, and King George said, "Great, you won the war. How are you going to govern? What do you
Yeah,
do now?" I think the hardest thing for us, it's not it's almost like a revolution to an extent,
to a
because
extent.
now once we do what we're supposed to do and wipe everything out and restart, it's going to be almost for a few seconds, for a little while, it's going to be like, now what?
Yeah.
Because we've spent so much time fighting the ignorance and the stupidity. And I'm hoping, and I think that the Harris campaign and Harris administration are smart people, and they will take that into consideration. And they're going to do a lot of stuff that's going to help us and make everyone feel good about themselves in mass to begin with.
Well, what I think is going
And
to
that's
be
going to,
what I think is going to be cathartic about this is what I said before. Once this is over, once it's done, Donald Trump has gone down for the third time, and the MAGA fucks are on the side. There's going to be a period of time that's cathartic because we're going to see a whole shitload of accountability, something that
mm,
people have been missing for a long time. All
right,
these people that fought hard to stay away from being accountable, now they're going to be accountable. And
right.
there's going to be a lot of cheering, a lot of excitement about that too, because it
And
has to happen. It
I
has to
do
happen.
not want to hear from some old school Democrats like, go, let bygones be bygones. Fuck
No,
that.
no, you can't. It's
Oh,
like
hell no. Oh, they're going to go, well, you're going after your political opponents. Maybe a little, but they deserve it
I'm going
because you
after,
fucked with the system.
I'm not going after political opponents. I'm going after people that were enemies of this country. I don't,
Yes.
people might say I'm speaking out of turn, but if you support Donald Trump, you are an enemy of this country. There is no
At,
fucking question about it.
at this time, yeah, because the only reason you supported Trump is for you just, I can't, you're a patriot, I'm a patriot. You know why? Because we love our country.
Yeah,
For all its warts, all its faults, all the things that it's done to me, done to you, maybe it's not perfect. We love our country because we understand the dream, we understand the concept.
right,
Um, those who support Trump hate America.
right. They
They
do.
hate everything stands for. They hate its freedom. They hate its tolerance. They hate, you know, the argument I got into with that gentleman about why should we help the Middle East? Why should we care about Ukraine? Why should we care about NATO? I got the answer today watching the rally with um, Governor Walz's speech. Again, he's looking at someone. Do you need water? Are you okay?
Right.
He goes, Americans help each other. We worry about others and we are kindness to others and we help them when they're in need. And I thought about it for a second. Yes, that's what America does, even across the seas. We help people in because it's the nature of who we are.
I tend to be a little more crass than you.
Mm,
Um, and somebody asked me, somebody I know as a friend said, why
mm,
don't we just stay out of Ukraine? Let whatever happens, happens. Why would we want to help out Ukraine? And I said to him, I said, listen, if you have to ask me that question, if you don't know the answer to that question, you're not smart enough to talk to me on this level
yeah,
because I can't educate you and then debate you. You got to know something and you clearly don't know enough to debate this issue.
and the you know isolationists, American isolationists never worked.
No.
Ever, ever, ever. That's one of the reasons for the Great Depression was American isolation for economic reasons. After World War One, that cost us because they went with tariffs. Tariff is a form of isolationism,
Right. Right.
and and then in World War Two, it took the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor to lose our isolationism because that a whole first original American first movement led by Charles Lindbergh was why should we care? The Germans will take care of their own business.
Well,
And
isolationism is narrow-minded and short-sighted because you've got to take in everything around you. I mean, even if you're a human being and you're an isolationist, and I go outside and I don't care about anything going on in my little circle, there's a lot of things that will impact me. And it's
mhm.
probably wise to think ahead and look ahead so I'm prepared for those things. If you're an isolationist, you get constantly broadsided, and that's not a good way to live.
And it's an it's an archaic way of thinking
It is
because
selfish.
because it's selfish, but everyone's tied by this phone. Everyone can do business over the internet anywhere in the world.
Right.
And the idea that the two oceans are going to protect us from the bad people is insane.
Yeah.
That's the entire and jump real quick to foreign policy. I know we're running long. That's the idea of Donald Trump's or these Republicans' weird ass foreign policy is we don't care about anyone but ourselves. And if you want something, pay us.
Right.
I mean, that it doesn't work like that. Alliances never work like that.
No.
And why do we need an alliance? Oh, I don't know, because there's still bad people in the world. Let's kind of run back real quick. Have you heard anything from the Chinese lately?
Not at all.
I haven't. Two reasons. One, the CHIPS Act. We took business from the Chinese.
Right.
We're not building shit. We're not building electronics in China anymore. We're building in the United States. And that CHIPS Act is the best thing that ever happened. It put the Chinese on their back foot. Their economy is not doing well. Why?
No.
They were depending on us. Our trade deficit with the Chinese is better because
Right.
we don't have those products built like that there, the high end products. The Chinese were still rattling with Taiwan. They saw what happened when Russia went into Ukraine. They don't want any part of that.
No.
They don't want any part of that. Um, so us, Trump can talk about, well, Trump can talk about, they don't respect us or anything. Oh no, they respect us. They respect us because they won't say shit.
Right.
That's when you know someone respects you because they know they aren't going to say anything. Why did Putin give up, do the deal? Because he
Yeah.
knows that was the best deal he's going to get.
Well, he knows he
And
has to deal with the people who are going to be in power after November
right,
5th. And he
and let's
telegraphed that. He knows what's going to
he
happen.
knows it. And let's talk about Kamala Harris on the foreign stage. Everyone's talking about how she's going to do it. I don't know. I saw that mom stare
Yeah.
in that rally, and I
Yeah.
mean, I saw that mom stare. I'm going, and I flashed back to the one time I talked shit to my mom. I caught that.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine Vladimir Putin talking shit to her and she
Yeah.
looking at him? Oh
Yeah.
my God, he will piss his pants. He will
Yeah.
fall down on his knees.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not worried about her in that stage. I think, she's not as experienced as Joe Biden, but she's got that tougher edge, which will work to her
But
benefit.
if she's been with Biden enough and she's been sent on a lot of stuff, especially in the border issues, meeting with people in Central America, I think they're going to be fine with her, especially with your being turning left as is done. I don't think that's an issue.
Well, and
Sh-
for
Uh,
what I get when I get emails from people all around the world,
mm,
people are terrified. Excuse me. People are
yeah.
terrified at the prospect of Donald Trump being president again, and they
Mhm.
think he might be president again. So when Kamala Harris ends up winning, they are going to be relieved and wanting to work with America because we're normal again.
Or we're gonna basically stand by our commitments
Right.
because everything that was done under President Biden, Vice President Harris signed off on.
Right.
Always remember, everyone got to remember this. She is Vice President of the United States. We keep forgetting that. Oh yeah, love that little crack that Trump said. It's Joe Biden's turn. What's he doing? I don't know, motherfucker. He's doing something that you never did, like be president.
Yeah.
He's not. I mean, I'm looking forward to the fall of Trump.
It's
I am
happening
looking.
as we speak.
I'm looking forward to it because the entertainment factor is going to be really great. Part
Yeah.
of me is not looking forward to it because, like anything that's a spiny fish, you got to stay out of the way of his spines, and
Yeah.
he's going to flop around at the end. But when he falls and no one can save him, and we're getting there because everyone's going, I, I don't know. It's
He's
going to
currently
be,
falling. It's just a matter of the crash.
and when he crashes, I don't. I mean, the one thing I want more than anything, I want someone to put a bill up and the president to sign it, President Harris sign it. And the bill is when Trump dies, he does not get a presidential funeral.
I agree.
I don't want him to have a presidential funeral.
Yeah.
I want him to be buried on his fucking golf course next to his wife.
Right. Right.
All right. Now, people would say that's harsh. No, he does not deserve a presidential funeral.
No, he does
Jimmy
not.
Carter does. God rest go. He's still going. He's going to vote for Kamala. He's going to stay going. Jimmy Carter deserves one. The Bush deserves one.
Yeah.
Even though we might not have disagreed, he still deserves it because he still was president. And he treated all of us with respect.
Yeah.
But I want that in writing. I want someone to propose it because when Donald Trump does not deserve any respect, it should be like the one secret in your family we should never talk about again.
Right.
The one mistake you want to hide.
He's
Period.
the crazy uncle we lock up in a closet and
Yeah.
never talk about again. Well, we're ready to wrap things
Way
up for the
over. I
rest.
know. I'm sorry, brother. I appreciate it.
No. There is no time frame here. I do whatever the fuck I want to do, and if you guys want to go longer, we go longer. People like listening, so we just gave them some extra special time.
A little different. I think we didn't go a lot of ways that I thought we would, but
We
I
never
think
do.
we never do it. I think the best thing we all should remember: don't listen to the mass media. They're out to fuck us.
Yeah.
They want us to run in fear. Remember, fear is the mind killer. Look that up. It is a great mantra. Remember to vote and check your registration. Remember to vote blue down the line.
Yeah.
And remember, hope is back. That little sprite is back and it's growing, and you can't stop it. Good luck, guys. On
Well,
that,
and I think you and I and other people that do this sort of thing are kind of on the cutting edge or the leading edge, because the audiences for mass media, the streaming news stations, they're losing listeners and viewers. Those of us that do this sort of thing are gaining viewers and listeners. And this may be ultimately how people get most of their news in the future. It's how I get most of my news, through social media.
Or they're going to have to change their.
Yeah.
Honestly, the network TV is about to die
Yeah.
because I haven't watched a network station.
I haven't either.
I mean, I get, like, if I'm gonna watch a show, it's on Hulu or Peacock
Right.
or
Exactly.
Disney Plus. Networks are dying. They're gonna have to change whether they like it or not. Same thing with the news.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
yes.
For those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.